Hello, World of Tank Blitzers, it's Littlefinger. Hey, today doing a best in class of the Tier 6 TDs. Now, I can only do this for tanks that I have in my garage, so we'll quickly go through the garage here and talk in general about these tanks, and I'm going to point out the top 5 that are going to move on to the competition. So, the first tank I have in my garage is the Churchill gun carrier. Now, I made the decision not to include any premium tanks or collector tanks. Even if I hadn't, the Churchill gun carrier here could be considered like the sloth of tanks. It would not have made the top 5. The AT-8, if we're talking about slow tanks, this is the tank we talk about. With a commander's hatch that is super penetrable, but great armor everywhere else. Unfortunately, you cannot hide that commander's hatch. So, the AT-8 did not make the top 5. The Jackson, followed by the Hellcat here in a second, are American TDs. Both are the only two with turrets. Unfortunately, the turret speed on both of these tanks is horrendous. 19 degrees per second. So that's about 10 seconds to get that turret to go 180 degrees. That's a long time in Blitz. The Jackson is more heavily armored. It does sport a nice gun with good gun depression of 10 degrees. However, it is just too slow to be considered in the top 5. Hellcat sports the same gun with the good gun depression. It's got very little armor, but it's one of the fastest tanks. Gets around the map really quick, and because of that, I am going to include it in the top 5. Nashorn, the HE magnet of all tanks, has very little armor, especially on the sides. As you can see, that's paper thin, but it has a laser for a gun with the best aim time and pen. So, believe it or not, Nashorn makes it into the top 5. The Jagdpanzer IV, the sleekest, smallest of the tanks next to the WZ. It has a very high rate of fire, the largest damage per minute of all of the tanks. So it is an automatic entry into the top 5. The SU-100Y is a premium tank, one of the best derp guns at Tier 6. And had it not been for the fact that I'm not including collector tanks or premium tanks, this one would have made it into the top 5, even though it's the size of a barn and it is extremely difficult to keep under cover. The SU-100, you can see it here has the 100mm gun. It also has a 122mm gun. Unfortunately, both of those guns are just too inaccurate for me. Therefore, this tank is not making it into the top 5. The WZ-131GFT here is the Chinese tank destroyer, and this is a fast, mobile, fairly accurate gun, does a lot of damage, and it is going to make the top 5. There's one last tank. We've only pointed out 4 top 5 tanks, so yes, the ARL V39 makes it into the top 5 here. Nice little tank with good gun depression. However, that commander's hatch is the target that you get shot at all the time. But you can have big games, and it is a fun tank. So that rounds out the class that we're going to compare. I'm going to pull up the top 5, and we'll look at them in a little bit more detail right now. So here are the top 5 tanks in no particular order, pulled up on blitzstars.com, and we are comparing them. You can see Jagdpanzer comes in at the top damage per minute, and it is quite a good drop off there to the Nashorn and the WZ, almost 700. That's about a 25%, 30% drop in damage per minute. But the trade-off there for the Jagdpanzer is it's very low, 145 on your pen. Now the Nashorn comes in second there on damage per minute, but it has a really high pen number. And as we go down the list here of weapon handling, you'll see just how accurate this gun is. Very little dispersion, great aim time. You've got 8 degrees of gun depression. So much going for this tank as far as the gun is concerned. Alpha, the lead goes to the ARL there at 310, so it's got a big damage number, but closely behind it is the WZ131. Shell velocity, again, goes to the Nashorn, followed by the WZ. We get into movement and mobility here, and most of these tanks are sitting right at 45 kilometers per hour, but there's a big jump up here to 65 for the Hellcat. And so that's kind of part of the reason that I put that, along with the fact that it is the only turreted tank in this list. It gives you that extra flexibility. Sometimes it's just difficult to get shots in without a turret. Just moving on down here, not a whole lot of difference between the hit points. The Nashorn there has 1,000 hit points, so you're going to need that with as much HE as what gets thrown at it. The hull armor on these tanks is not the greatest. Obviously, the Hellcat at 13, yeah, that's atrocious. The Nashorn there, 30, and the Jagdpanzer at 80 is actually the best here in the class. So not a lot of armor across the board, so really didn't come into too much of a consideration. But just going across the board here with the win rates, WZ there at 53, ARL at 50, Jagdpanzer 4 at 53, Nashorn at 51, and Hellcat at 52. So not a lot separating these 5 tanks. The damage champion there is the WZ at 993. Jagdpanzer coming in close at 987. So I think what you're going to find is those 2 tanks finishing close in the top. So let's jump into some gameplay, and I'll put these tanks in order from least to my favorite Tier 6 TDs. All right, 5th place, the Nashorn, here on Middleburg as top tier in a Supremacy game. And I'm going to get a little bit of flack, I think, for putting this tank at number 5. But, you know, just going through my criteria, and I played 3 to 5 games in each of these tanks over the course of a couple hours, last night, as a matter of fact. And I was just surprised with, you know, how much fun this tank was, actually. I remember when I first grinded this tank, and I just absolutely hated this tank line, but I'm not sure if they've buffed this up a little bit, but the accuracy of this gun combined with the mobility here, you can see that was an unfortunate bounce on the Leo, but you know, we can not quite, but almost keep up with a traversing of a Leo trying to circle of death us, and who knows what he does there, and I don't know why he's not shooting, but you can see there with that quick reload, good aim time, and we finished off the Leo and managed to reload and get our 2nd kill already. Battle looks to be pretty even at the moment. Each side has lost 2 tanks, but somehow we came across a Leo that was CODing us, and we've come away without losing but 10 hit points, and that was because we kind of rammed him a little bit. Now, I felt like it was more important here to try to get some damage in on that Nightmare as he came up the hill, which is why I left Cap. Time for me to get Cap here now. I am not sure why the other 2 guys that were on top of the hill have gone down into that barren, open, lower bowl area there. I have no explanation for some of the things that these people are doing, but you can see they've now gone into and are capping B. So at least that's better than them sitting out in the open. But you can see they have left me here on the hill all by myself. So we're going to try to get some distance here between us and this Hellcat. And just love this quick reload. Able to track him. KV-2 is coming, but we've got to get this Hellcat out first. And he's coming over this hill, and look at this. Boof. Yeah, you kind of missed. So I get set on fire by the tank behind me, but we're able to put away the KV-2 before he can reload. So this is what I'm talking about. Just this maneuverability, this traverse speed, the accuracy on this gun. I really had some fun games playing this tank. However, at 5th place, you don't get any awards. It's just an honorable mention. And so we finished off this game there with 5 kills, 2,184 damage, and that was good enough for an Ace Mastery badge, just shy there, 977 in experience points and 14 shots landed. So 4th place goes to Hellcat. No prizes here, still an honorable mention, but we are top tier on Lost Temple. And just look at this, 57 kilometers per hour uphill, allows you to get into positions before the enemy. You can get set up, and if you're in trouble, you can relocate. And you have to with this tank because remember, it's got very, very little armor. And so we're able to spot the first 2 heavies as they come around the side there. And that Tiger's going to come back for a second shot. And we even get lucky enough to squeak out a bounce. So you're living right in a Hellcat if you can bounce some shots. Obviously, that must have hit on the side of the turret there. They've pushed hard on the other side of the temple, and this is the place to be for this tank. We're just going to dish out the damage. But keep in mind, you've only got 19 degrees per second on the turret traverse and 42 on the hull traverse. So it's not a maneuverable tank if you're getting COD'd or something like that. You can see there as I'm turning, deciding which way to go. It's very mechanical, slow. But again, 10 degrees of gun depression, nice accurate gun. And it's going to get you where you want to go quickly now. I thought at this point we had them all cornered here, that we were going to move on in as a team. And we come across a Tiger P there. And so I guess we're bottom tier here. And, I find myself in a very precarious situation here. Taking some blind shots. Get that one to go in. Oh, Tiger P's making a move on me. And why is he making a move on me? Well, my team is just sitting there doing nothing to help protect me. And I get double tapped there and taken out of the game. So I'll speed this up real quick. Look at this Tiger P. He does not move from the spot for the rest of the game. And we've got another Tiger P, almost full health there, sitting behind the rock. So, I just, that goes to my fault. This guy right here, he's still sitting behind this rock. We all pushed in. You've got the armor. You can't let a heavy tank push on me when I'm in that position from the position you're in. This guy's just sitting here. These guys have a lot of armor. Yet they just don't want to move. So lesson learned, don't assume that your team's going to follow you into what you should be doing as far as pushing and closing out tanks go. All right, Desert Sands in the ARL V39, which means the French tank comes in 3rd place, has best in class for tier 6 tank destroyers. And as I hinted at in the Hellcat video we watched there, don't assume that your team is going to do anything or help you out in any way whatsoever. You can see we've got 3 guys pushed off to my right. One of them has already been taken out of the game. We're not even 30 seconds in, guys. Come on. So we get our first shot to go into the VK, but obviously those 2 guys out there in the desert are, well, they're not going to last long. And had I pushed over there, I would not have lasted long either. So we're using this nice little ridge line here, and we're keeping distance between us and the enemy, trying to get shots in wherever possible. Only 6 degrees of gun depression, so not the best in the world, but it's certainly workable. And again, we're gonna drop down, reload, look for a target, come up, and try to do more damage. Not getting a lot to choose from, but you can see 335, 340-ish is going to be your average damage. So it can certainly dish out the damage. Now, that Leo had pushed on me, and I was afraid that he was going to keep coming. So my strategy here was to get more into town, get into some buildings, which I can use to brush off a COD tank. And unfortunately, I aimed a little bit too high and missed that T1, but I want to get in here and try to relieve a little bit of pressure on our guys in the middle. And we've just done a review on that T1, so we know that that lower plate there is his weak spot. And here is the ARL. Curious to why he does not try to push on me and use his speed. So you can see there, he bounced several of those shots, and I guess he was trying to get the gun depression down, and we're able to track him. Not sure why he came back over. Not sure what the plan is here. Maybe he was trying to get around me. I don't know. But taken out, and it's 4-on-2 at this point in time, and I'm just trying to get a clear shot. The thing with these tanks with a little bit longer reload and higher damage is you want to make sure every shot goes in. Get that shot into the T1, but not before my last surviving team member is taken out of the game. So 4-on-1 was quickly changed there to 3-on-1. ARL showing me that hatch. Make that 2-on-1. VK, you want to push on me too? Oh, really? You're going to show me that much of the side? Okay, thank you. 4 kills now, 2,500 damage. And look at this. We bounce that shot on the VK. I probably should have switched over to APCR there. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm making him think, because obviously I'm still spotted now. I can still see him. Now he's dropped off. I'm making him think I'm coming out to the desert, right? We're going to turn around and we're going to circle back and see if he exposes himself. And I can get basically a quick shot in and then get into cover. So I get on the railroad tracks so that I can see both sides of the map. We're going to back as far away as we can, giving ourselves as much distance as possible. And there he is. He is spotted. He knows he's spotted, so he's backing back down. But note that my light bulb never went off. So he has not spotted me. He still doesn't know where I am. So he's going to think that I was in the desert there somewhere, because as he was driving into the desert, he got spotted. So I'm going to switch back over to AP and hope for the best in getting the side of him. And sure enough, he's looking the other way. Ooh, I can trade shots with him, no problem. And he's going to try to hide. Nope, that's not hiding, dude. So we come back from a 4-on-1 situation with 5 kills, 3,070 damage. Yeah, sure enough, ace mastery game. Klobanov. 13 shots landed. So again, really fun little tank and worthy of that third spot. So coming in second place is the Jagdpanzer IV. This is a nice little tank, and I think probably the reason that I didn't put it number one was because of its lack of penetration. The damage per minute on it is wonderful. However, to get that damage per minute, you do have to be exposed. So just from a rough play style, you know, I just felt like I would put this number two, leaving the WZ 131 as our best in class. But obviously, we found a nice spot here where we are behind the bush. We have hard cover if we need it, and we're in a position where we've got our gun on targets a lot, and so that makes a difference, obviously, in our damage per minute numbers. And so we're kind of just holding tight here. I'm just putting blind shots in. Blind shot comes back, and luckily it hits the side. So I'm going to use the rock for hard cover, and when we get the Type 58 coming up over the ridge line there. So yeah, thank you very much for another target. He manages to turn and block that one. Here comes the Nightmare. Takes two big shots there. Doesn't have a whole lot of life to begin with. But again, you can see we're a couple minutes into the game here, and we haven't taken any damage. And I think that's really key to all of these tank destroyers, is just keep yourself in a position. You saw what I did on the Hellcat. I really could have had a much bigger game than that. I just put myself into a bad position. So again, you know, we're taking out the engine. We're tracking this guy. I mean, poor guy. Nothing you can do at that point in time. We're still down a tank. One base all. But this ARL has been a really solid player. He hasn't taken much damage either. So basically just trying to keep him in the game, give him fire support as he pushes on that Type 58. You know, I realized I got to get in here, and we got to put these guns on target. So as he's cresting over the hill, there's 3 of their 4 tanks. Takes out the Type 64. Keeping an eye on the mini-map, noticing that red dot moving, and ARL is behind me. I've got the hit points, so I can go in and take one from him. APCR shot to make sure that that goes in. And Type 58 is trying to run at this point in time. We've come up with a tank advantage. Although I'm not sure what our medium is doing. He might be AFK, to be honest with you. As we come in and just close out this game with a couple shots on the Type 58 and our third kill. So 3,138 damage and 3 kills was good for an Ace Mastery game. With 1,114 experience points, 17 shots landed. So yes, best in class is the WZ-131 GFT, the Chinese tank destroyer. You can see here on Copperfield we are bottom tier, and I really don't want to go up on the left side of the map, the heavy side. I just don't have the gun depression or the armor to battle it out there. So got to get myself into a situation where I can get shots in and you know, use hard cover, use the terrain for cover, whatever I need to do. So why did I put this tank number 1? Well, it's just really got a great combination of the mobility, accuracy, It's got decent damage. Remember, it was second highest in damage. And to me, that is an advantage over, say, like the Jagdpanzer IV, in the sense that you don't have to be exposed as much to get that damage per minute number. I like a nice sweet spot in the middle there, and unfortunately, that LTTB was just blocking my shots. I was trying to help him out on the Dracula, and I know now that they've got several other tanks on that side of the map. Chaffee sitting here for whatever reason. He's probably played 300 battles and already has a tier 6 tank. But let's not worry about that at the point. So, you know, the weak spot obviously is, for them, for the Reds, is the heavy side. So we really just need to, basically all they have up here is that IS. Now, as I get up here, I really would like to just push and take out this IS, but I'm certainly not taking on an IS by myself in this tank. So I basically just have to come up here and try to get some more shots in across the map. But we need a concerted team effort there to push on the IS. And I just don't see that happening just yet. So vertical stabilizer would have been nice there, huh? That gun was bouncing like crazy. But so now I see Tigers pushed. We've got now 3 tanks. Cromwell coming in here. He gets ammo racked. And that's the fear you face when you see an IS or something like that. So we've got a couple shots into him. And our FE finishes him off. And now we are up a tank. And it's, you know, it's really at this point, it's just showing off this gun's accuracy at distance. But we get a max roll there of 350. So while the damage number in this game's not going to be in the 3,000s like it was in some of the other games, I just really like the playstyle of this tank. I mean, look at this shot. Go ahead and get that kill all the way across the map. Just pinpointed in, leading him. And now it's just their Nashorn left. So I've already preloaded the HE. We're ready to go. We knew he was on this side of the map from before. And we just close on in. So, you know, unfortunately, it just doesn't have the armor to be like a bully type tank. But you can drive it more like that. And that is why... then I apologize. We did finish at 29,440 there. So we did clean up a good bit of damage at the end of that game. Almost 1,000 those last 3 shots. So, yeah, big game there for 4-kill mastery. So, number 1, WZ131. Number 2, Jagdpanzer IV. And number 3, the ARL V39. So, I hope you like that breakdown of these tier 6 tanks. Remember, guys, stay safe out there, have fun, get educated, not fingered. Littlefinger out.